Today, Napheesa Collier went on First Take, and when we're talking women's basketball, you can't help but to bring up Caitlin Clark. It's just the way the world works.
WNBA star Napheesa Collier recently expressed concerns about fairness regarding Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever's national TV schedule. However, the situation isn't merely about equity. It reflects audience preferences. Networks aren't favoring the Fever. They're prioritizing them because fans are tuning in. Caitlin Clark's games have attracted unprecedented viewership, significantly boosting the league's ratings. This trend illustrates that networks respond to what viewers want, and the success of Clark's games is a testament to her drawing power. By the end of this video, you'll see why Collier's fairness argument overlooks the fundamental principles of sports broadcasting and the market's influence on programming decisions.
Molly Karam, you win the award for the dumbest question of the day. Napheesa Collier, you win the award for the foolish answer of the day. And Stephen A. Smith.
Did you catch Napheesa Collier's recent remarks about Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever? Her comments on ESPN's First Take are generating a significant buzz in basketball circles. Collier, a star for the Minnesota Lynx and the vice president of the WNBA Players Association, addressed the national TV schedule concerns during her appearance, sparking conversations about fairness and visibility in the league. Her insights are resonating for good reason.
And Napheesa Collier went on to First Take, and of course, as expected, she was asked about the Fever getting more TV viewers, which is just one of those obvious things.
The controversy stems from the fact that the Indiana Fever will have 41 of their 44 games broadcast nationally this season, while the defending champion New York Liberty will only have 32. Instead of recognizing the straightforward business reasons for this decision, Keir provided a response that many fans found perplexing, implying that the situation is somewhat crazy and unfair to other teams.
I mean, the reason why they have more national TV games because 18 of the top 20 most viewed games last year were the Indiana Fever. It was literally if I'm not mistaken, it was if you don't count the All-Star game, there was a Las Vegas Aces and Chicago Sky game that, again, was directly before one of the Fever games which had more viewers in it, which was literally right before a Fever game. So a game that led into a Fever game.
Meant so controversial was not just their content, but also the delivery. She began by admitting that fans want to watch Caitlin Clark, which is reasonable. However, she quickly shifted to suggest it was crazy that the defending champions receive less coverage. Collier seemed to walk a fine line, acknowledging networks' desire to showcase Fever games while also hinting at the unfairness of the situation, creating confusion among fans about her stance.
So if there are 175 slots, question fee, because you know more than me. How are we able to give more games to other teams without taking away from other teams? How does that work? Please enlighten me.
Of her statement was when she suggested that other teams should receive more TV games without reducing airtime for the Fever. This demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of television scheduling. Networks have a limited number of slots available. It is simply impossible to allocate more airtime to everyone without taking games away from someone else, highlighting the complexities of broadcasting logistics.
Now, the WNBA do not decide who's on TV. Let's be there. They make the deal with the WNBA to get certain amount of games on certain days, and whatever, these networks choose who to show.
Stephen A. Smith dismissed Collier's comments, drawing a striking comparison to Michael Jordan's early NBA career. He highlighted that popularity is the key factor behind viewership, noting how the NBA effectively built its brand around Jordan even before he began winning championships. Smith argued that the networks aren't showing bias, they are merely responding to market demands and audience interests.
80s, for example, when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird took the NBA by storm and they were winning championships, competing for championships, but then this dude named Michael Jordan came along. And Michael Jordan came along and he wasn't yet winning championships, but his popularity was so astronomical that the NBA practically marketed everything they could around this guy. So to know that there's an example like that as a shining example to be followed that could benefit the league, particularly down the road, why is that an issue when we've seen that such a marketing plan has worked in the past?
What's particularly confusing is Collier's insistence on her stance, instead of recognizing the realities of the business. Her position suggests she desires equal airtime, regardless of actual viewer interest. This raises questions about why a veteran player and vice president of the Players Association would adopt such a perspective. Collier's comments hint at deeper tensions within the WNBA, especially between established stars and rising sensations like Caitlin Clark. This situation isn't solely about fairness. It's about visibility and attention. The existing hierarchy and distribution of spotlight among established players have been upended since Clark's emergence, causing significant shifts in how attention is allocated within the league. The dynamics are evolving rapidly, creating friction among the athletes.
I think it's an issue. I do think Caitlin's a star. And like I said, people want to see her, and we are trying to grow the league. Like, you need to put on TV the players that people want to see. But kind of what I said before, I don't think raising the level of the other teams has to mean bringing down Caitlin or the Indiana Fever. They should have those amount of games on TV on primetime, but I think other teams should also have more than what they have.
That's fair. The situation becomes even more intriguing when considering Collier's role as vice president of the Players Association. She's expected to advocate for the financial interests of all players, yet her stance appears to overlook economic realities that could ultimately benefit everyone in the league. The substantial TV audiences attracted by Caitlin Clark could lead to larger contracts for all WNBA players, including Collier herself. Beneath the discussions of fairness and TV scheduling lies a straightforward truth that the Players Association VP seems to miss. When it comes to airing WNBA games, networks aren't showing favoritism. They are driven by financial motivations. The numbers don't merely tell a story, they shout it from the rooftops, highlighting the potential for growth and opportunity within the league.
Dan, like, from a casual perspective, there was 1.5 teams that were good to watch last year. Or 2.5 teams. The Wings were so fun to watch. They were garbage, but they were so fun to watch. The Wings, the Fever, and the Liberty were the only teams from a casual perspective that were good to watch.
Let's consider some compelling facts that illustrate why TV executives are eager to feature Caitlin Clark. Remarkably, 18 of the top 20 most watched WNBA games last season involved the Indiana Fever, with only 2 exceptions: Game 5 of the finals and one Aces Sky matchup that led into a Fever broadcast. This isn't about favoritism. It's driven by the viewing habits of the audience. The disparity in viewership between Fever games and others in the league is not just apparent, it's staggering. When Caitlin Clark takes the court, viewership frequently surpasses the 1 million mark, while games without her often struggle to cross 200,000 viewers. This isn't a trivial difference. We're seeing a 5-fold increase in audience size. Now, imagine being a TV executive. If you had to choose between attracting 200,000 viewers or over 1 million, which option would you select if your job relied on that decision? It's a clear choice that reflects the need to adapt to what fans want to see, which clearly benefits the entire league.
So a game that led into a Fever game, no other time when the Sky played the Aces, but the one that led into the Fever game, and it was Game 5 of the finals. That was literally it. They were the only games that had more viewers than Caitlin Clark games.
Need more evidence? Consider the playoff matchup between the Fever and Connecticut, which attracted 3 million viewers. Remember when Clark was still in college? Her NCAA tournament games set records, with viewership ranging from 14 to 19 million. These figures aren't just impressive, they are transformative, fundamentally altering how networks perceive and approach women's basketball. Such high viewership proves that there is significant demand, compelling networks to prioritize these games more heavily than ever.
Because if you look in the way they're with college basketball and the women's, yeah, the game has not been as big as it was with Caitlin Clark, but there's a lot more viewers in 2023, so you can see there's a positive growth there. And you can see all these positive things. And I think that's the way the WNBA is going.
Here's something that Collier and other players need to understand. Broadcasting slots are limited. there are only 175 total slots available across all networks for WNBA games. Every choice to air one team inevitably means another team is left out. It's a zero-sum game. When ESPN features the Fever on national TV, it's not out of personal preference or favoritism for Caitlin Clark's charm, it's about business. Advertisers pay for viewership, and Clark consistently brings in historic numbers. Networks operate as businesses that have invested in the rights to broadcast these games, and they must maximize their return on that investment. If you're at ESPN and faced with the decision of airing a game that garners 200,000 viewers or one that attracts over 1 million, the choice is clear. It's straightforward math, and the decision practically makes itself. Prioritizing viewership is paramount in this competitive landscape, and Caitlin Clark is a significant draw.
That's how it's done. That's literally how it's done. Caitlin Clark, boom. Well, let's put Caitlin Clark games on as often and as frequently as we can, so advertisers pay us the money to advertise during the Caitlin Clark spot. This is such a simple idea that I think that I'm stupid sometimes.
What we're witnessing isn't a conspiracy to elevate one player above others. It's merely viewers expressing their preferences through their viewing choices, and networks reacting to that demand. This isn't favoritism, it's capitalism at its core. The Fever aren't receiving extra airtime because someone in a boardroom thinks they deserve it. Instead, they're getting showcased because millions of fans tune in when they play, far surpassing the numbers for other teams. Here's the twist that changes everything. Those million-plus viewers who are tuning in to see Caitlin Clark are also being introduced to every player she competes against. The narrative of Clark overshadowing her peers misses a pivotal point. This scenario isn't a zero-sum game, where one player's fame diminishes another's. It's an exceptional opportunity for growth that benefits the entire league. Consider this. When the Fever face the Lynx, fans primarily tune in to watch Clark, but they're also witnessing Napheesa Collier's talents for the first time. This is an immense chance for exposure that wouldn't happen otherwise. Essentially, free marketing on a scale the WNBA has never experienced before. This increasing visibility can pave the way for broader recognition and support for all players.
Like, the WNBA is in a position where it's going to grow. And the only reason this league will not grow is because of the players and the old media. If the players in the old media just took their mics away, if they just stopped speaking, this league would skyrocket. And I like Napheesa Collier. I just think this is an incredibly dumb argument.
The contrast in mindset among players is becoming increasingly evident. Some view the current situation as a threat, voicing concerns about fairness and TV schedules. In contrast, others see a golden opportunity. For instance, when playing against Indiana, they think, "This is a chance to showcase my skills to 1 million new viewers." These players grasp that by impressing Caitlin Clark's audience, they could potentially convert them into their own fans. They recognize the importance of leveraging this visibility to expand their personal brands and build a following. Instead of focusing on short-term grievances, they are strategically thinking about the long game and how to capitalize on the growing interest in the league.
I'm sorry, the NBA did not have the Denver Nuggets on more than the Lakers or the Warriors. When the Denver Nuggets won the championship, they were not on TV more than Steph Curry. Why is this an issue? It's not an issue in any other sport. Like, I'm a Leeds United fan. No matter what, Leeds United are going to be on TV more than any other team in the championship, no matter how or good or bad we are.
This pattern has occurred in basketball history before. When Michael Jordan captivated the NBA and dominated popularity charts, it didn't harm players like Magic Johnson or Larry Bird, rather, it elevated the entire league. Jordan's exceptional star power didn't diminish his peers. Instead, it transformed the NBA into a global phenomenon, significantly increasing salaries across the board. The rising tide truly lifted all boats. Similarly, Caitlin Clark's popularity has the potential to do the same for the WNBA. As she draws in larger audiences, she can create newfound interest and excitement that benefits not just herself, but also her teammates and the league as a whole. paving the way for growth and recognition for all players involved.
41 Indiana Fever games on TV. Do you know what that also means? There's 41 games that other teams are playing. There are 41 games on national TV that other teams are playing in that are going to have over 1 million viewers.
Let's discuss the financial aspect, which is crucial for players' careers. The existing WNBA TV deal is about $60 million each year, significantly less than what major men's sports generate. However, with a surge in viewership driven by Caitlin Clark, future TV contracts could potentially rise to hundreds of millions. This isn't just a theoretical scenario. It represents tangible revenue that would directly enhance every player's salary, including Napheesa Collier. Caping Collier enough, leaving gone in half fainting. The growing interest in the league can transform its financial framework, ensuring that players receive the compensation and recognition they deserve for their skills and contribution.
And that's one of the biggest problems, is that if every single, let's just say hypothetically, there was no salary cap, and everyone's made that argument. If every single player in the WNBA got paid $1 million, their salaries went up from 200k to $1 million, and Caitlin Clark got $2 million, they would make that in.
This highlights why complaints about fairness in TV scheduling are misguided. Networks aren't playing favorites, they are responding to audience preferences. Currently, viewers are driving an extraordinary opportunity to expand the league's fan base, visibility, and financial prospects. Savvy players are embracing this trend, rather than resenting Caitlin Clark's spotlight. They are positioning themselves to benefit from it. Each nationally televised game against the Fever serves as a valuable advertisement for their skills, personality, and brand. This exposure offers advantages that would typically require millions in traditional marketing strategies. By capitalizing on these opportunities, players can elevate their profiles and maximize their career potential in an increasingly competitive environment.
The way things are right now is the game is growing the way it should have always been growing. And it's people that have been around and in and around the league during the dark days of the league that seem to want it to go back to the dark days.
Ultimately, the WNBA is not merely witnessing a temporary surge in viewership due to Caitlin Clark. We're observing a potential transformation that could redefine the league's future. Growth projections are significant, with experts forecasting unprecedented viewership numbers that could lead to TV contracts worth hundreds of millions. Such revenue represents life-changing money for every player in the league. Players find themselves at a crucial crossroads. They can either resist this change, grumble about fairness, and risk hindering progress, or they can embrace the opportunity to elevate the league to unprecedented heights. Imagine the salaries, endorsements, and career opportunities that could arise once these lucrative TV deals are finalized. Astute players recognize this moment and are not squandering energy on jealousy or pettiness. Instead, they are leveraging every nationally televised game as a platform to showcase their skills and engage with millions of new fans. At its core, this isn't about Caitlin Clark pitted against others. It's about capitalizing on a once-in-a-generation opportunity to elevate women's basketball to the prominence it has always deserved. By rallying around this momentum, players can collectively transform the future of the league, ensuring lasting benefits for themselves and for generations to come. If you enjoyed leaving a like and subscribing, more videos are on the screen now.